Hello TikTok family. This is the first time I've ever done a live, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know how much you can see. We're just gonna wing it. We're just gonna have fun. And today I want to talk about my experience in HRT, perimenopause, and how I navigate it. So I made a video a couple of years ago about my experience with metformin. And that was when I was just starting on my perimenopause journey. I'm currently 47 years old. I currently have monthly cycles, so this is important for you to know. And I believe I have traditionally always been a little bit on the low side of progesterone. Now, this was not something I was aware of until I would say even 2 or 3 years ago. And it only was because I kept having miscarriages. This is important for you to know because everyone is different, and a lot of people who are 47, friends of mine, they have stopped cycling. They're in full perimenopause. I'm currently in perimenopause, and I want to talk about a bit about my journey, what I've done, what I've taken, the supplements I take, because it's something that we don't really talk about as women. It's starting to be a little bit more common to talk about it, but by no means is it widely accessible to everyone, especially me living in France. It's something that a lot of women don't talk about, as opposed to the UK where I used to live, other Anglo-Saxon countries. It's starting to be much more mainstream, which is excellent news. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the symptoms you could be having. And I just want you to know that this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a list that I've experienced and people that I know have experienced. And I would say I started to really feel it from 42, I would say. And that is, you really notice dips in energy. It takes a lot more to get things done. It takes a lot more to motivate yourself. And you get brain fog. You start to forget small things. It's not like memory loss. It's just difficult to have that recall coming up again. And I would find that I would feel down for no reason. Like, I don't have depression that I know about, but I would just start to feel really dark. It would be hard to have thoughts to keep going, and things could start to seem dark very quickly. I would find myself getting edgy, overwhelmed. If I couldn't find a pair of socks, I would just sit on the ground and just say I can't deal with the world. I do also want to say that at 43 or 44, I had 2 miscarriages in one summer. Now, this is for you to know that even though you're in perimenopause, you can fall pregnant. So if there's something that you don't want to do, I would say be careful. For me, as I already explained in the beginning, I apparently find it easy to get pregnant, but not maintain that pregnancy. And so that's important for you to know if it's something that you still would like to do in your 40s, 50s, going onwards. Just for me, I have realized that as I was low in progesterone makes you hold on to the fetus. If you're low in progesterone, it is one possibility that you could miscarry. Also, given the fact that your eggs post 35 decline in quality. So that could be another reason. Now, back to perimenopause symptoms, I noticed that my skin was getting super dry, especially on my lower limbs. And also I would start to get pains in joints. Now, I am quite active. I go to the gym a few times a week. I lift heavy weights, but nothing was working. Also, I would say post 42, I started to notice that I was just putting on weight no matter what I did. It's like if I would breathe, the weight would just come on. And I went on all kinds of weight loss schemes, juicing, keto, high protein, doing more cardio. very bad. I'll explain afterwards. Going to the gym, starving, nothing worked. I was eating way less than usual and I was continuing to put on weight. Now, those of you who have been on a similar journey, you know that after around about 50, a lot of women can start to get insulin resistance. Now, this means that it's harder for your body to metabolize carbohydrates, sugar, alcohol. So one thing that I realized is that you need to change the way you work out and the way that you eat for your 40s, especially as a woman. What does that mean? That means instead of heavy cardio, instead of long runs, instead of Tabata, HIIT exercises, I changed up how I work out, focusing a lot more on lifting weights. Not small weights like bar, which is what I used to love to do, heavy weights. And this is important because you need to start to build muscle mass, which we start to lose as we get older. We need to work on muscle mass, not just to keep our structure, not just to keep strong, but actually for our bones. And it's very important for bone health, joint health, to have muscle on your frame, on your body, not just for your shape, not just for the structure, but also to help against osteoporosis. We don't want to have brittle bones. We don't want to have hip replacements if we can avoid it. And the way that you do that is that you focus on lifting heavy weights. Now, please start off slow, especially if you have never worked out before, and work your way up. But let me tell you, I had even started to lift weights. I had even started to reduce the heavy cardio and instead walk. And after, let's say, my miscarriages in the summer that I was 43, 44, I put on 8 kilos over that summer. My hormones were all over the place. I could not shift those 8 kilos no matter what I did. So that is about 8 kilos more than how I am now, okay? And despite the juices, the cleansing, all the regimens, all of the supplements, and I'm going to talk about the supplements that I took and that I continue to take, nothing was helping. If you've been there, I'd love to hear from you, because I know that, well, I didn't actually know that insulin resistance was a thing for women after 40s. It's just a natural function. Maybe you're lucky and you haven't experienced that. I'm so jealous. I did. And now, especially if in your family you have a history in your family of diabetes, pre-diabetes, of thyroid issues, you might start to feel this. Even if you have never felt it before, you might start in your 40s to feel this. And so that's definitely something to consider. It's important to consider your family history, your mom. How did she deal with it? How do your grandmothers deal with it? And you might get an idea, depending on how your ancestors went through perimenopause, if you still know your mom, your grandma, whether they experience any of these. Now, I have asked my own mom. She doesn't actually remember. I do remember she would get very angry at some point when we were in primary school, and she would have red flushes. But honestly, I ask her now, she can't remember the menopause. It's just something that they do. It was not a big deal. Now, I can't tell you if we're just more sissy now, which we could be, or the women, our mothers, our ancestors were just stronger mentally and in all ways, or if our body, our environment, living in this messed up world that we're in right now, hyper consumer, full of toxins, plastics, hormones that are in the air, in the water. I do personally have a belief that that has an impact on our experience, our hormones, and how we age. And by the way, it is a privilege to age, and there's still certain things that we can do to help the symptoms. So let's go back to what I decided to do to shift the weight, to try to get my mental balance back, to help with dry skin. Some people feel a loss in libido. Some people feel, again, this brain fog, depression. And a lot of times, doctors will want to put you on depression medication just to say, oh, you're just depressed, go away, have this antidepressant, which I was always against. I'm like, I'm not depressed. I know this is my hormones, but you can get tested and still test normal, right? Whatever their band of normal is, in the disease range, you might come not as diseased. So some of the things they test you for in your 40s, so thyroid function, they could test your insulin levels, they could test you, so for me it was thyroid, insulin, so blood sugar, how you metabolize blood sugar. They test you for vitamin D, and they'll give you supplements. And I can tell you what I started with, which did absolutely nothing. So in France, they give you chasteberry, Vitex. I tried this. They also give you black cohosh, supplements that are supposed to help you regulate your cycles and symptoms of menopause. They also give you chromium to try to regulate your blood sugar. These might help women pre-40s, pre-perimenopause. I can tell you it did absolutely nothing for me. I tried those. I wanted to go the natural way. I'm a medical intuitive. I believe in plants being able to help you and heal you. However, I can tell you that these plants did not help my symptoms. This is despite the fact that I'm fairly healthy in what I eat. I had reduced my alcohol consumption. I was lifting heavy weights. I had reduced my cardio to walking. Nothing was shifting the weight. And then you start to feel you're losing the will to live, because it's like, I've never had this weight issue and I can't shift the weight. Let's now talk about my experience with trying metformin. I've done a video on that. You'll find it in my history. Metformin I tried. I had high hopes. Metformin, for those who don't know, is about your, again, blood sugar metabolism. It's also called a longevity drug. So I had high hopes for it. Honestly, I wasn't feeling anything. Like, I tried it for 6 months and I just said, if this is not doing anything for me, I don't really need to be taking it. So I stopped taking it. And now we're getting up to about age 46 and I am losing the will. And I have then spoken to some of my friends who started to take HRT. Now, HRT is something I never wanted to take. I grew up with my mom saying, don't take extra hormones. I never even took the pill. I tried to take it in my early 20s, didn't agree with me. So I was not into taking hormones. However, after really feeling so low that I had tried everything, I went to an endocrinologist in the UK. So I wanted to again let you know that I live in Paris, but I'm from the UK, and I felt more comfortable going to an endocrinologist where I could speak my mother tongue and really have a conversation. And I can tell you the regime that I've been on and off now for the last 2 years has changed my life. And so this is what I want to spend the next few moments talking about. I do have a whiteboard here. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm really gonna go through what I use now to help me in my perimenopause years. Remember, I'm still cycling monthly. Now, HRT is a combination of estradiol, progesterone, testosterone. You can take it in various quantities, and depending what stage of your perimenopause you're in, depending on your symptoms, you might get prescribed a combination or 1 or 2 or 3 of these hormones. Bear in mind, we make all these hormones, but depending on where you are on the symptoms, you will usually get started with estradiol and progesterone. Now, I was put on an estradiol cream, a gel, I think it was 750 micrograms. I was told to take 4 pumps, which sounded a lot, plus 200 milligrams of progesterone that you take. The brand I've been taking was Progesterone, and so that's not synthetic, that is bio-identical. And that's available in the UK, it's also available in France, and this Estradiol cream. Now already I didn't want to start with 4 pumps, the doctors kept trying to push it, and I went with my intuition. I started with 1, which they tell you to do, and then they tell you to go up to 4. I knew I was never going to take 4. Just intuitively, it didn't feel right to me. I want to let you know I have friends and I know people who take up to 6 pumps and it's perfect for them. For me, I want to tell you about the journey with Estradiol because this is very important. I started with 1 pump. Within a week, I started to get tender breasts. I was feeling a little bit out of it, but the pain in my joints and my feet and the arch of my foot, I had a lot of pain. It went away. I started to feel better. I slept better, especially with the 200 milligrams of progesterone. Now they tell you to take 200 mgs if you still get your periods, if you still have a uterus, i.e. you have not had a hysterectomy. And if you're postmenopause, they usually tell you to take 100 mg every day. As I'm still cycling, I was told to take 200 mg in the evenings for 2 weeks. Now I've got to tell you, that helps you sleep. That helps that chatter mind calm down so that you can actually sleep. It worked. For about 5 months, I was feeling amazing. They told me to take it up to 2 pumps. I tried, and I can tell you that was not a good idea. Let me again remind you, they ask you to take 4 pumps of this Estradiol gel, okay? And for me, even 2 pumps was way too much. I started to get migraines within a week. I started to feel really lethargic, and something that has never happened to me in the whole time that I've been cycling, for the first time in my life, I had a cycle that lasted 2 weeks. And I just knew that that was the Estradiol. I stopped it, and immediately I stopped spotting. So now I've decided to take a break of all hormones, just because I realize that my body is very, very sensitive. And I want you guys to listen to your body. It doesn't matter what the doctor says. If something doesn't feel right, listen to yourself. So right now I have an appointment to see my endocrinologist again, and I want to see what I can do about the dosing, because maybe it's not the fact that it's the hormones, maybe it's the dosing of the hormones. And you will realize that if you decide to go down the HRT route, it might not be right for everyone. They do say that if you've had estrogenic cancers or that you have that in your bloodline, you have to be careful. I am not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just telling you that you need to speak to a menopause specialist. And I can tell you, most doctors don't have the training in menopause. So make sure you go to someone who knows about menopause, who knows about hormones. And there are cultural differences depending on where you are. For example, in France, they don't like to give you HRT until after menopause. Whereas in the UK, they do tell you that you can start to take it up to 5 years, or when you first start to get symptoms, or if you've had a hysterectomy. There are many ways that you can get this intervention of HRT before you're fully in menopause. A lot of people also benefit from testosterone. I personally have not had it, although I might benefit from it, but they wanted to regulate me with estrogen and progesterone before I went on it. Progesterone is great for low libido, muscle mass loss, which could happen anyway, lack of energy, focus, although in France they don't give it to you unless it's specifically for lack of libido. So I also have noticed that a lot of friends of mine who have taken the testosterone gel they feel more energetic. So I might look into that later. At the moment, I still need to regulate the estrogen and progesterone, which I haven't managed to get dialed in yet. So full disclosure, I do have to say that the low level of hormones that I was taking worked better, I'm sorry, than the black cohosh and the chaste that I was told to take as supplements. It might work for other people, it did not work for me. Now, I want to also talk about GLP-1s. A lot of people have a lot of things to say about GLP-1s. If you don't know what that is, it's like the Ozempic, Mounjaros, and now they have the 4th generation, which are called retrotricides. Now, I want to tell you, after my 2 pregnancies and thus miscarriages after that, I could not shift the weight for love or for money, no matter what I did, as I had spoken about before. And I did go on GLP-1s. I personally went on Ozempic. You have to get this prescribed. And I can tell you, it's not for everyone. And don't think it's a miracle drug. And a lot of people experience symptoms. I myself have to say it helped me a lot. It cleared up my food noise. I didn't know that was a thing until I started to take the GLP-1, and I noticed the food noise goes away. You can focus better. I found some of the perimenopause symptoms abating. I used to have some spots on my forehead. They went away, and I had more energy. So for me personally, the GLP-1s have been great. A lot of women in perimenopause do GLP-1s plus HRT, and that is great if it works for you. Look, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to tell you my experience. There is diabetes in my family. There is insulin resistance in my family. You have to look at your particular situation. But I also want to tell you there are side effects. Now, I didn't get the terrible side effects that a lot of people talk about, also because I was on the lowest level dose, and that was more than enough for me. I have stopped taking it now, but I'm not saying I wouldn't go back to it, maybe for 3 months, just to have a reset. I was on it, I would say, for about 7 months to help me to lose those 8 kilos, which it does help you to do, but beware, you have to learn to change your habits. These are not miracle drugs. You should not use them as miracle drugs. They can cause side effects, which I'll talk about, but make sure you're eating enough protein, drinking enough water, 1.5 to 2 liters a day, reducing or 0 alcohol, and weights. You need to lift weights, you need to build muscle. A lot of people say they're wasting away, they've lost muscle. I actually gained muscle because it gave me energy to work out, and I started to lift. And for me, honestly, it really helped to reset my metabolism. And I noticed then that insulin resistance is a thing, and it was a thing for me. And I'm very careful about it and what I eat and how I work out. What else am I taking, especially if you're on GLP-1s, in order to make sure you're getting the right minerals? I'm going to show you the regimen that I have, morning and evening. Now, my morning regime, there's a lot here, okay? I just want to tell you how many supplements I'm taking daily. This is my daily supplement pack. It's a lot, it's a lot. I'm going to walk through what I take, and you can decide whether you want to take any of these suggestions on board, okay? So in the morning, I start with iodine drops. I take it in drop form, iodine drops, and selenium. This is for thyroid health. I have not been diagnosed with suboptimal thyroid, but I'm on the border. And for me, because I'm so sensitive, it's like I was hypothyroid. So I know that you need, by the way, I do have a nutrition degree, so I'm not just talking like I don't know anything. And I'm also medical intuitive, and I do testing, muscle testing on myself. I know that I need iodine and selenium, which you need for the iodine to be absorbed for thyroid health. I also take creatine, which I've forgotten to take. Now creatine, they think that it's like a fix-all for everything. I had to play around with creatine to get it right. It would give me migraines. I only recently started to take creatine, I would say a month ago, and I've noticed that I have more energy, I recover better, I have less brain fog. So I would say that creatine you should definitely try to add, especially as a woman in perimenopause, because it's super important. So we've spoken about iodine for thyroid, then for immunity, vitamin C and zinc. So I take liposomal vitamin C and zinc. This is for normal mitochondrial function, energy, zinc for immunity. This is for every day, especially if you're feeling run down, you're getting a cold, zinc and vitamin C. I've already said that depending on how I am, depending on how I feel my metabolism is, I might microdose with a GLP-1. On top of that, I do take a fish oil, and I combine that with vitamin D3 and K2. This you need, the vitamin D3 and K2. Try to make sure you can get them both together. They're synergistic and they're fat soluble, so it means that you need to have it with fat. The vitamin D needs fat in order to metabolize. And this is important for bone health, a whole range of metabolic functions. So make sure you're getting your vitamin D in. It's also really important for your mood. The best way to get vitamin D is to go out in sunlight, have it hit your eyes. Best way, make sure it's at least 10 minutes in natural light. But if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and if it's raining all the time, which it currently is here in Paris, take it in tablet form, take it in supplement form. And then there's collagen. Now, I do put some collagen, hydrolyzed collagen in my coffee sometimes, but I have to say, given there's so much I'm taking in the morning, sometimes I just forget, and that's the way it is. Then, super important, especially if you're taking GLP-1s and also if you're plus 40, super important nighttime routine is magnesium glycinate. There are many different combinations of magnesium that you can take. I find this is the best that works for me. It actually does help you to sleep. It's good for all metabolic functions, and it helps you calm your nervous system down. Especially if you're taking GLP-1s, you might lose a lot of B vitamins. So take a B complex. I'm substituting with B12, and I'm also taking P5P. P5P is the precursor to make vitamin B6 in your body, and I add that with 5-HTP. 5-HTP I found is amazing for my mood. It helps me calm down. I'm taking 100 mgs, and it helps the production of serotonin. So I was prescribed this in the many times I've had adrenal fatigue, and this has been a game changer. So on the times in the beginning of my cycle when I'm not on progesterone, I take P5P, 5-HTP, and the magnesium glycinate every night before I sleep. And that does help me to calm down. I notice when I don't take it, I'm so wired that it takes me ages to fall asleep. And finally, I take a really good strength probiotic, and I take it with L-retori. It's something that the GLP-1 helps to make in your body. It's a kind of bacteria, and this particular one has L-retori. Now, I'm not getting paid to talk about any of this, but this particular brand, Nutrient, I find is a really good probiotic. Now, these are all the things, just making sure I haven't missed any, these are all the things that I'm taking. It's actually a lot. All the things on this table I'm taking every day as a woman who is 47-year-old in perimenopause. Now, I'm not saying you have to do the same as me, but I find that this is my baseline regimen, together with high protein diet, together with lifting heavy weights 2 to 3 times a week, together with my cardio just being walking. And I invested in a walking pad. Let me just show you my walking pad, right? So these are some of the things that you might want to look at if you're struggling currently in perimenopausal symptoms, if you've had questions around HRT, GLP-1s, how to navigate this period. I hope this is going to be of help to you. This is just what I do. If you have any questions, drop them below. And next, I'm going to be talking about ADHD and late diagnosis of ADHD in women. As I said, if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any comments about this, let me know. This was my first live. Please show me some love. I'm really new to the TikTok world and I would love your encouragement. I also need to figure out how to close the live now and I'm lost. Again, playing around. If anyone knows how to stop lives, please let me know.